Is everyone missing the fact that Philadelphia did make a massive move during the NFL trade deadline period? It's like everyone just completely forgot. No idea. The Eagles were very, very active not only yesterday, but a couple of days prior. Let's talk about that today. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome into the Thomas Mott Show on a Wednesday. We are one day away from Thursday Night Football, and what many people hope is not a surprise game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully they blow out the Texans, and it's fine. There's a lot going on, though, not just trade deadline related, but Jalen Hurts contract related that I want to go ahead and jump into today on the Thomas Mott Show. We're going to talk about the trade deadline in a second, so stay tuned for that, but I want to begin with Dan Graziano from ESPN's quote that just came out this morning about Jalen Hurts and the potential money he could be due at the end of this season. This is a very, I think, stark reality for a lot of Eagle fans to put the numbers into perspective, and comparing him to Kyler Murray makes it even more interesting. Here's the article from Bleacher Report. Very short, very sweet. This just really happened on Get Up just a couple of minutes ago. Floor for Jalen Hurts' new contract has to be Kyler Murray's deal. And you hear that and you go, whoa, Kyler Murray's deal was absolutely massive. What's going on here? Let's read the article. Quote, coming into the season with questions about his long-term viability as a starting quarterback, Jalen Hurts finds himself in a prime position to get a lucrative contract extension from the Philadelphia Eagles. ESPN's Dan Graziano suggests the floor for Hurts' next deal has to be Kyler Murray's 5-year, $230.5 million contract he signed with the Arizona Cardinals in July. That's it. I don't have the full quote from Graziano because, again, it just recently happened, but this is what he's saying is the floor has to be Kyler Murray's contract. Now, if you're a big NFL nut, not just an Eagle nut like myself, you would understand that when you hear Kyler Murray money, we're talking serious money. Look at this, okay? Let me just pull up overall the top quarterback contracts in the National Football League as it stands right now from a yearly value, an average yearly value, right? Rodgers is one, $50 million a year. Russell Wilson is two, $49 million a year. Look who is three. Right? But number 3 is Kyler Murray at $46 million per year. That's more than Deshaun Watson. That's more than Patrick Mahomes. That's more than Josh Allen, Derek Carr, Matt Stafford, and Dak Prescott. $6 million more than Dak Prescott. And so you read what Graziano is saying here. He's saying that Jalen Hurts is going to get a top 3 of biggest contracts in the National Football League in history, but really for any quarterback at the position, probably below Aaron Rodgers and below Russell Wilson. Now, you see that and you go, Thomas, you can't pay a quarterback $46 million and expect to still have money to spend on other position groups. We talked about the needing to re-sign, big-name players. You want to go ahead and bring back Robert Quinn potentially, or maybe even not. Maybe you want to bring back, C.J. Gardner-Johnson or give T.J. Edwards a brand new deal, or, all these different contracts, Miles Sanders that could be coming up. I cannot pay $46 million per year and match Kyler Murray's deal. Kyler Murray is way better than Jalen Hurts. Maybe you're saying that. Not when you actually look at the win-loss and the numbers. I mean, look at the past 4 years of Kyler Murray since being drafted in 2019, 1 year before Jalen Hurts was, of course, brought into this league. Or really, I think the same year that Hurts was brought into the league because Hurts had that, off year where he only played 4 games. Kyler Murray was 5-10, 8-8, 9-5, and then 3-5 this year. Okay, now you can talk about numbers, talk about touchdown passes, you can talk about rushing yards and all those sort of things. The numbers might be better overall than Jalen Hurts has during his starting time as an NFL quarterback, but Hurts' numbers would say 9 wins last year, and now he's 7-0. He's already putting together a better record resume than Kyler Murray. And so Dan Graziano is looking at this current quarterback contract field, and he's going, wait a second. If Kyler's worth $46 million and Mahomes is worth $45 and Allen's worth $43, you got to at least get Jalen Hurts to the floor of Kyler Murray's deal. And guess what? We're only 7 games into the NFL season. What happens if Jalen Hurts goes undefeated? Or what happens if Jalen Hurts is the number 1 seed? Or what happens if Jalen Hurts wins the divisional round? Or what happens if Jalen Hurts goes to a Super Bowl? That number is only going to absolutely skyrocket. We know they can't extend Jalen Hurts until the end of this season, so nothing will happen between now and that time frame. But Graziano, for a flashy headline that you might read and go, oh, I hope not, that's the kind of money you're going to have to go ahead and pay Jalen Hurts in the end when the season is all said and done because of the market that was set by guys like Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't care. I don't care how much you got to pay Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, he looks like the guy. And if he keeps looking like the guy, you give him the guy money. And if the guy money is 46, 47, 48, 49, I do not care. because welcome to the modern NFL. If you have a good quarterback, you're going to pay them. Look at all the quarterbacks on this list. What you notice, though, is some teams manage the quarterback money and the other players very well. Look at Buffalo. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Other teams, like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, have not done a very good job of managing money outside of their quarterbacks, hence why Rodgers has no receivers, and Russell Wilson seemingly, I don't know if you want to say the offensive line is an issue because they can't run the football, whatever it is up there in Denver, they cannot manage their money as well. And so you can pay a quarterback any salary you want. What really matters, is that the GM understands how to use that money and then also be able to maximize the remaining money that is left after you pay a big-time quarterback. So that's all to say. You're going to start seeing a lot more hype around Jalen Hurts in terms of his contract coming up. Graziano is kind of starting and to stir the pot here November 2nd, but he's not wrong when you actually look at the numbers here and say Kyler Murray was worth 46. That means the Eagles are 100% going to have to pay at least close to maybe 45 or 46 for Jalen Hurts. And before you go down in the comment section and say, Thomas, Hurts is a team guy. He's going to go ahead and make sure that it's a fair team deal. He might make sure it's a fair team deal. He's not going to take a mega discount. There's no way you give him less than Derek Carr or less than Matt Stafford or less than Dak Prescott. It's not going to be under $40 million. You are going to be over $40 million. And if I'm Jalen Hurts, you know what? I deserve this. I have literally worked so hard to get this bag that I'm going to go ahead and get the bag when it is offered to me. And honestly, credit to him. I mean, he's been fantastic, and none of us can complain about that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get into the Eagles' big trade deadline move. Obviously, Philadelphia did make a massive move, despite the fact a lot of people on Twitter, especially Philadelphia Eagle fans, were upset that no move was made at the deadline yesterday. First, though, there are a couple of really big games you guys might want to jump in on the PointsBET game right now using my affiliate link down below. How about the Philadelphia Phillies last night? 5 home runs! Bryce Harper getting it started in the bottom of the first inning. They have a chance to go up 3-1 in the World Series and take a massive control tonight. You can bet on them right now as they are, right now the spread is minus 180 for the Phillies. Money line is minus 107. And jump in on that one right now using my PointsBET link down below in the description box. I also have a Caesars link as well. If you can PointsBET, Caesars, you got any preference, go ahead and jump in there. You also have obviously the Sixers taking on the Wizards right now as the money line sits at minus 375 minus 325 for the Philadelphia Phillies. I also bet on the Eagles tomorrow, and we'll talk about that game coming up on the Thursday edition of the Thomas Mott Show. So jump in the sports betting gang, PointsBET or Caesars. Both links are down below in my description box. Okay. Now, the NFL trade deadline was yesterday, and I was, much like you, refreshing Twitter every 4 seconds from about 2 in the afternoon till 4:10 in the afternoon yesterday, waiting for a big-time move by the Philadelphia Eagles. And guess what? Let's just be real. Nothing happened at the trade deadline, right? Nothing happened as the trade deadline was expiring. So the Bills get Nyheim Hines, but Philadelphia did make a move, and it was for Robert Quinn. And it was a couple of days before the NFL trade deadline. And had the Eagles not made the move for Robert Quinn when they did last week and waited until the trade deadline, you would be sitting here on a Wednesday saying, wow, Howie Roseman worked the trade deadline again, and not I see a lot of you guys doing on the show comment section or on my Twitter account complaining that they did not make a move yesterday at the trade deadline. So Bleeding Green Nation has a good write-up here, and they, I think, really kind of, sum it all up. Quote, NFL trade deadline day came and went without the Eagles making a deal. It was an active day elsewhere in the league, but Howie Roseman didn't get in on the action. Of course, the Birds already made a move last week, and when they sent 2013 fourth-round pick to Chicago in exchange for Robert Quinn, there were thought that the Eagles were not done dealing even after making that acquisition. Multiple reports indicated that the team is still interested in improving the roster, especially at the running back position. And it goes on to say that Nyheim Hines was available, and of course, they did not make a move for him as he went to Buffalo in exchange for Zach Moss in a 2013 sixth-round draft pick. So let me just sum this up really quickly here for Eagle fans. I get the fact that you're frustrated because there was all the news and all the rumors about, could you, get a Josh Allen? Could you get a J.J. Watt? Kareem Hunt's name was popped up a bunch. David Montgomery's name was mentioned. It feels like Philadelphia was feeling things out for a running back, but in the end, they decided to go ahead and stay put. And that might be the smartest thing Howie Roseman has done the entire offseason. Howie Roseman is a genius when it comes to a GM in terms of making free agent and trade moves. We can talk about his draft record, and that's something that can obviously be brought to the fire if you want to really grill Howie Roseman in the past. When you look at the overall moves, trade deadline, free agency, or the like, Roseman looked at this year's class and said, you know what? We don't need to make a move here. We don't need to go ahead and bring in another brand new player to possibly jeopardize not only the chemistry of the overall locker room, but to throw off the mojo that is going on right now in Philadelphia. Not to say Kareem Hunt would have done that, not to say that Nyheim Hines would have done that, but I think Philadelphia looked internally and they said, we're good. we are good. Like, you can only go ahead and try to make this roster even better so many times. They added the receivers this offseason. They added the pass rusher in Robert Quinn. They fixed the safety spot. They added a cornerback. They did all of these things that we said they had to do. Now they have them and they're 7-0. Why, try and fix something that isn't broken? And I get the idea of bringing in a backup running back, but they like Kenny Gainwell. They like Boston Scott. They want to get Trey Sermon some more touches. And so I sat back yesterday hoping for a move for my own jealous sake, of the fact that it's fun to cover big trades, the fact that, adding Kareem Hunt could have been an extra spark here, whatever. But in the end, Howie Roseman looked and said, we're good. We're better than any team in the NFC. To me, it's not that close, and we are perfectly positioned roster-wise to match up in a Super Bowl against the juggernauts of the AFC, whether it is the Buffalo Bills or whether it is the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs. And so while you might be frustrated by that, and I get it, I mean, again, I would have liked to move. I think that the move made for Robert Quinn was your trade deadline move, and if you focus on that, you'll understand that had that move been made at 3:55 p.m. on Tuesday instead of whenever it was on Friday, you would have been feeling pretty darn good about Howie Roseman at the trade deadline. So just a little rant there. Again, we'd like to see a move. The fact that nothing happened shows you this team is really good as is, and I think if you don't understand that 7 weeks in with 0 next to the loss column, then I don't know what you're going to understand after that. Okay, let's go ahead and end with our National League story of the day. Before we get into that, thumbs up for the show. I appreciate the likes. That helps the show out a ton. Be sure to subscribe because plenty more stuff is going to happen, obviously, the rest of the season. We're going to cover the National Football League in Philadelphia here on the Thomas Mott Show, so hit that red button. I would appreciate it. Here's your NFL story of the day and how it ties into Philadelphia. There were 10 trades yesterday at the deadline, or 10 trades on deadline day, and that is the most trades that have happened in the National Football League trade deadline history. And some are significant and some aren't. Let's just go through them one by one. Buffalo getting Nyheim Hines is a solid move. Now, listen, Philadelphia wanted Nyheim Hines. They clearly called about Nyheim Hines. That's not a fake news report. That was a real report. Did they make an offer? Who knows? But Hines going to Buffalo does give them a good option throwing the ball out of the backfield. Doesn't help them a lot running the football. And that's the big knock on Buffalo right now is in a cold weather, windy game, can they run the ball enough to keep it away from Patrick Mahomes? I don't think Hines is going to make them much better at that, but he still is another weapon in the passing game for one Josh Allen. The big move, in my opinion, obviously was the Dolphins getting edge rusher Bradley Chubb. We'd mentioned that for Philadelphia. The price was a lot, a first-round draft pick in 2023. Glad Philadelphia stayed away from that. The Dolphins do realize that they have a very good football team, but they're going to have to play either Buffalo or potentially the Chiefs or both in the playoffs, and the only way to beat them is to get pressure, and so getting another pass rusher to bring alongside Jalen Phillips was, to me, a solid move by the Dolphins, but it shows you that a team like the Dolphins were still a move away, whereas Philadelphia felt like they were not a move away after going ahead and acquiring Robert Quinn. Falcons traded Calvin Ridley, which was a surprise because I kind of forgot that Ridley could be traded, but a good move for the Jacksonville Jaguars if Ridley is not only going to sign an extension with the Jaguars, but stay in Jacksonville long-term and actually be able to play, right? That's the question because he's suspended for this year, but it's not just a one-year suspension. It's a 1 year, and then we're going to look at it again. Now, it's ridiculous that Calvin Ridley can't, throw a couple bucks on DraftKings and then get suspended for a year, but that's neither here nor there. But Ridley is a good move, especially if Jacksonville is trying to make sure they do everything possible to make sure that Trevor Lawrence is as good as he can be by bringing in a true number one receiver. And Ridley, pre-suspension, was very close to being that. Commanders went ahead and traded away William Jackson, their cornerback, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was a move that was going to happen regardless because they were going to cut William Jackson, but they had got to trade for him. That's fine. The Bears trading for Chase Claypool, to me, is a solid football move. I'm shocked that the Packers didn't get that trade done. Apparently, there was reports that Green Bay was trying to trade for Chase Claypool. The Steelers are going nowhere fast. We saw that last week against Philadelphia, and the Bears are trying to, much like with Jags and Calvin Ridley, make sure they do everything possible to get Justin Fields the best puncher's chance that he has, and bringing in a weapon like Chase Claypool is a great move. The Lions getting Hockenson is a very good deal. And I know that we don't talk about the Lions, the Lions trading Hockenson to the Vikings is a very good deal. And we don't talk about the Vikings as much in this football show, just basically because of the fact Philadelphia already beat the Minnesota Vikings, but you're probably going to have to beat them again in the playoffs. And adding Hockenson is a very much Eagle-focused move by Minnesota to make sure they have enough weapons, not named their two great wide receivers, really one great wide receiver in not in Thielen and the opposite receiver, Justin Jefferson. That way they have a threat across the middle, and Hawkinson, a solid move there. And finally, Baltimore going ahead and getting Roquan Smith is another really good move, because Roquan Smith was rotting away in Chicago, and the Ravens had not had a legit middle linebacker in a very long time. I'm fine with the compensation for that as well. Couple of teams that didn't make any sort of moves. The Cowboys didn't make any sort of big move for a wide receiver. Apparently they were trying for Brandon Cooks. That's great news for Philadelphia, because that will be the Achilles heel for the Dallas Cowboys. You'll see it come playoff time. Yes, they will be there, and yes, they will be good. Yes, you might have to beat them again if you're Philadelphia, but one good receiver versus two good receivers is a big-time difference, especially against a great defense like the Eagles. So good news for Eagle fans. The Cowboys did not make a move, and the Packers didn't make a move. You thought this would for sure be an opportunity to, make a move if you're the Green Bay Packers, to go ahead and, get a Brandon Cooks or get a Chase Claypool or do something to help that Aaron Rodgers squad. They didn't, and that's good news for the Eagles, because you want the Packers to keep losing. That way you don't have the chance of facing Aaron Rodgers in a playoff situation where he could, put the old MVP hat on and play some very, very good football. So overall, it was an exciting trade deadline, and we got to emphasize that even though Philadelphia didn't make a move, they still got Robert Quinn a couple of days ago, and they still have the best roster in the National Football League, the best record in the National Football League, and have one of the easiest schedules remaining in the National Football League, and all those things bode well for Philadelphia going forward. Plenty more content. We always do it here on the Thomas Mott Show. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe down below. Thumbs up, and we will see you guys in the next one. See ya.